Well, I would like to extend my incredible gratitude and deep appreciation to the One Life family, and starts with Mr. Ken Parker. I had the unbelievable honor of meeting him, I guess now, Scotty, several months ago now, back at Hilton Head. And it goes without saying that it's easy to really recognize success when you see it, because it really starts at the top. And it starts with incredible quality individuals that permeates itself throughout the entire organization. And I have been so impressed, not that I needed to be impressed, but I've been nonetheless incredibly impressed with who Mr. Parker is and his incredible family and his One Life family, but the executive team that I've gotten to know over these 3 months or so of my infant stages of what I've embarked upon. And so I will say first and foremost that I'm here because of the people that I had the good pleasure of meeting and the immediate impact they've had on my life. And so I'm thrilled to be here. I am full of life and energy. I feel no ways tired. I love a good old-fashioned challenge. I love to roll my sleeves up and get in a fight. I've been raised that way. My mama, back in South Georgia, she's a big old tough lady, is what she is now. And you can see I'm a big old tough boy. And she taught me how to fight, not necessarily physically, but when it comes to thriving in life. And so what I want to do today is talk a little bit about some of the things that I think can serve as important entities in where we are and where we're going. I want to say to you agents that I'm where you are. I am. These new ventures are quite amazing. These first-time experiences are incredible, is what they are. They can sometimes be overwhelming, it seems. But when they're managed properly and perspective is involved, then we can tend to find a sense of balance when it comes to them. So I want you to know that I'm part of you this afternoon. I am. I'm embarking upon this tremendous, tremendous adventure of walking with the One Life family in this final expense experience. And I have grown leaps and bounds over my small tenure of being here at One Life. I know I have a long way to go, but I'm excited about the journey. I am. And so I'm very pleased to be here. Scotty, to you and the executive team, Mr. Parker, again, I am so grateful to be a part of this organization, and I would hope that I do you justice along the way. So I will say this, that I live by some creeds, and they are old-fashioned. You've heard them. But I'm going to say a few of them. I get out of the bed with them in the morning. I get out of the bed with my wife, too, by the way. Yeah, make sure I put that little bit there. But I do get out of the bed with these things. So it's so incredible, because when my feet hit the floor, they need to be running in some direction, is what needs to happen. Because if they stay still, then nothing's going to happen. There are going to be no results. I told someone a long time ago that if you want to see the Grand Canyon, don't go to Florida. Okay? Don't go to Florida. Go to Arizona is where you go. And you can go to Florida all you want to, but if you want to see the Grand Canyon and the vastness of it and the beauty of it, you better get to Arizona so you can get an unbelievable visible sight of it. But before you get to Arizona, you better get out of the bed in the morning. That's number one. You got to get out of bed. You got to get out of bed in the morning. And that's not always easy to do, but I've learned over the years that any successful journey starts with getting out of the bed. You got to get out of the bed. I have these creeds and I love them. I'm going to leave some with you. As one I learned years ago that says, if you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win and think you can't, it's almost a sense you won't. If you think you'll lose, then you're lost for out in the world. You find that success begins with a person's will. It's all in their state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, then you are. You have to think high to rise before you can ever win a prize. That life successes don't always go to the most talented or the most gifted man or woman, but sooner or later the one who wins is the one who thinks he can. I love that because it's not always those tangible things that are the difference makers, but those small intangibles that are the difference makers. And it starts simply with believing that you can when your feet hit the floor. Your feet hit the floor. It is at that moment that one decides how the day is going to end. There's another one, that it is not the size of the dog in the fight. Am I right? You can finish it, but it's what? It's the fight in the dog, is it not? I mean, that could be a graphic term, but I can tell you it truly is. I played with a little old rascal about 5'10" for the Detroit Lions. And I tell you this, he didn't have much attraction about him in stature, but he was a one-man gang is what he was. And we went nowhere without him. Nowhere. We made certain Wayne Fonts, the head coach with the Detroit Lions, he made it famous around there that if no one else gets on that bus, that little old 5'10" fella's getting on there. And you know what? Every team member recognized it, had tremendous respect for it because we knew what he brought to the table. He was a critical piece to our success. And so everywhere the Lions went, the great Barry Sanders would travel. And we knew this. We knew we'd have an opportunity. We didn't always win it, but we knew we'd be in the fight because that little old dog, I tell you, that little old puppy Chihuahua, my goodness. I mean, you ever seen an old Chihuahua run up on a fence? He runs and he makes all that noise. And you let him go, he ain't going to come and attack you. But Barry would make a lot of noise and he'd come get you too. That was the difference in him. So it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. And in this business, and I've learned in my small 3 months or so, 4 months or so, that it requires a fight in you to keep coming up with ways to be successful. It's not how you start, but how you finish. And it's not where you start, but where you finish. I believe that too. I truly believe that finishing is the key to it all. So many can start projects, but never close them out. And they get discouraged and they get down and they get frustrated along the way. And that's a part of the emotional ride. But the reality of it is that, I communicate this to my son all the time, and he's a student athlete at Kent State University in Northeast Ohio. And I love it because it says if you're going to start something, you're going to finish it. You're going to finish it. It won't be that easy to quit it. You can't walk out. You've got to find a way to get to the end. Because there's some things along the way that you're going to learn. And it's not just about being successful. It's not about the endeavor of being successful at the end, but it's about the journey. It's about what you're going to learn about you. It's what you're going to learn about who you are and why you are. And so you need to experience it. And I told him, I said, it's not just being an All-American in college as a student athlete. It is not just about being a 4.0 student in the classroom, but the college experience is just that. I want you to take in the experience because you're going to be able to share that with others when you leave. I want you to finish it. Winners never quit and quitters never win. Winners never quit and quitters never win. I fundamentally believe that to be true, that winners find a way to win. And quitters never do. And then there's the last one is talent can get you there, but character will keep you there. Talent will get you there, but character will keep you there. And I believe that character is the thing that is sustaining. That is what's long-term and lasting. I want to share with you a good friend of mine, actually, but one of the foremost, most recognized individuals in leadership, John Maxwell. How many of you are familiar with John Maxwell? Absolutely. Just incredible work. And I have used, obviously, as much as you have, many references to his work and all of the literary work that he's written, all of the leadership tools and training and processes that make a difference in any industry. And I can tell you, it's been impressive to experience it over the years. But one of the foremost leaders in the country in this area, and he wrote the book, Talent is Never Enough. How many ever heard that book? Talent is never enough. If you've never read it, you ought to go read it. Talent is never enough by John Maxwell. But he said talent plus choices is enough to take you to the top of the mountain. That talent plus choices is enough to take you to the top of the mountain. But talent alone isn't enough. Okay? Now, John and I have some unique perspectives on leadership. And he gives some 13 choices that the individual makes that affect leadership but affect their outcome and their results. He gives 13 of them. I won't give those to you today, but if you go and read that book, you'll find them. They are an impressive list of choices. Now, my leadership philosophy is built on the foundation of 4 core principles. I want to give you those. If you want to know what my leadership philosophy is about, I have a pretty interesting concept, but I want to give you the 4 core principles that I believe in, and particularly embarking upon new adventures. I think they are prime. Number 1, lead with courage. Lead with courage. In other words, you can't be afraid to walk through the door. You can't be afraid to walk through the door. You got to lead with courage. The door looks big. It looks intimidating. It looks scary. I've never seen it before. But there are reasons why I can walk through the door. You have to lead with courage, and you can't be afraid to walk through the door. It's number 1. The second one is lead with confidence. Called the 4 C's. Lead with confidence. That you have to trust your training. You have to trust your training. Lead with confidence. And you'll never rise to the occasion, but you default to your level of training. It's an old school principle I believe in, that you never rise to the occasion, but you always default to your level of training. Your training is the comforter that goes with you when you hit the floor running every morning when you wake up. It is the counselor, it is the comforter that goes with you. And if you have none, then you have nothing really to lean on and to trust in. And so lead with confidence. The next one is lead with conviction. Lead with conviction. Okay? Lead with conviction. You have to believe in what you are selling at every step of the journey. You have to believe in what you're promoting. You have to believe in what you're selling. And that doesn't necessarily mean you sold anything. But it means that I believe in it. And if I believe in it enough, you know what will happen eventually? I'll sell it. That's what will happen. But the point of disconnect happens when I stop believing in the product. Because I can't sell what I don't believe in. And I can't convince you to believe in what I don't believe in. So when I sell it, I've got to make sure that the listener believes in it, and their belief is based on my belief. And so if they sense that I don't believe in it, they won't believe in it. And if they don't believe it and I don't believe in it, then we can't move it. Got to believe in it. When your feet hit the floor in the morning, you got to believe in it. And you got to believe in it when it rains. You got to believe in it when it's real hot. And we can get hot in the South. You got to believe in it when your car don't work real well. You got to believe in it when you go into a particular neighborhood. And you got to believe in it when a certain candidate comes to the door. And you've got to believe in it that when at the end of the day, you produce nothing, and you've got to believe more in it the next day than you did the day you didn't produce anything. It's like our children, I would imagine, because no one can tell me I don't believe in Dustin, and I don't believe in Sydney, and I don't believe in Sheldon. And you know what? There are people that don't believe in them, but guess who believes in them? I believe in them. And you know what's important? It's important for them to know that I believe in them. And if they know that I believe in them, they don't really care who else does. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? So the power of belief is an incredible C that I want to lead with conviction. You have to believe in what you're selling. And then lastly, you have to lead with care. You have to lead with care. Stay plugged into the care for humanity. I've often said, that when your heart gets in it, then you get in it. When your heart gets in it, you get in it. My father, can I share this? My father passed several years ago. I didn't grow up with my father. But I got to know him from my 10th, 11th grade year and onward. And he didn't live in my mother didn't make it and all of these things. And it was interesting that I got word that he was really ill, okay, really ill. I've gone on to be very successful in a lot of areas. I have, and I'm so grateful for the people whose shoulders I've stood on to try and get there. It didn't always start well for me, but I can promise you this: if you hang around long enough, I'm going to show you how to finish it. Okay? I tell you this: my father was passing of cancer, and I was contacted by his side of the family. And they instructed me and they shared with me the dilemma that they were in, and that, he was really no one you would recognize. I knew him, but you wouldn't recognize him from those pictures of those words on the wall there. You wouldn't. He would be of no significance anywhere. No one would know that he was my father unless I told you. And he worked a lot of odd jobs, walked the streets and things of that nature. But I loved him. And you say, why did I? I loved him for this reason, because no matter how much I want to change it, I could not change the fact that I have his DNA. Are y'all with that? I can't change the fact that I am who I am as a result of his input. Okay? And what's amazing is that I embraced that. I believe that I embraced that. And I was contacted. He was passing, and then he passed, but he had no insurance. He had no coverage. He had no final expense insurance. He had no life insurance. And of course, I wasn't totally aware of those things, and I was brought up to speed on it. And we had mentioned they had come up with a concept to try and put him away and all these kinds of things. But I said that will not do him justice. Because I've gone on to do this and to do that, play in the National Football League, lead so many various groups of people, do so many training pieces, experience a family and all of those things. And he was a major part of that. And as a result, I said, what are the expenses? And what I had to do is to write a check for about $12,000 to be able to cover those expenses. And I can tell you this, it wasn't the easiest thing to do in terms of just economics. But it was easy to do because it was my father. It's easy to do. And I thought he deserved a clean and right burial. I believed that. And I said, if I can help someone not have to experience that hardship by providing a product that could cover those kinds of expenses and those kinds of challenges, that would be so commendable, and it'd be a tribute to him. That when we do it in Stockbridge, it'd be a tribute to him. And that's why I'm no ways tired in my early venture of learning how to lead a call center, is because the end is the goal that I'm after. Not just how I started, but how we finish it. And my commitment is based on humanity. That if you believe in humanity, then you'll believe in this product. Because I believe, as much as we've all been blessed by the good Lord to have arrived in this world, we deserve to go out a little bit after all the hell on earth we experience. We deserve to go out, in some positive way. And so I want to leave that with you as the 4 C's of success and leadership that are philosophies of mine. And I call them the 4 C's of successful leadership. Now, he gives 13 choices in the book, but I'm going to give you 4 choices I made in my first year with the Falcons, because I knew my talent would not be enough. So the first year, I knew as a result of my draft status or position that it would be the most difficult. The first year in the National Football League, if you're interested in any athletic analogies, the first year is the most brutal. It's the most rigorous, because you're a rookie. You've never been there before. It's the highest level and pinnacle in athletics, particularly in football. And I knew I was up against it. I knew it. I wasn't drafted in the first round. I was an 8th round draft pick. Now, all of us make the claim I should have been a first round draft pick. Absolutely, I should have been a first round. But it turns out, interesting, a guy from southern Mississippi, running back named Tony Smith. I don't know if you ever heard that name before. Tony was drafted by the Falcons in the first round of the NFL draft, and I knew that I wasn't Tony Smith. I wasn't Tony Smith based on numbers, but I was Tony Smith based on what I believed in myself. And so now what I've got to do is I've got to go market and sell myself. I've got to go sell this product. That product was me. And you know what? If you can't sell you can't sell anything. You can't sell you can't sell a thing. You may as well get out of the sales business. So I knew that as my rookie year, I needed to sell me. And so I got to thinking about some things, because simply put, it was going to be a rigorous adventure. Going to be the hardest thing I've ever experienced, and it was. I played for a guy named Jerry Glanville for the Falcons, and Jerry was a hard-nosed coach. And I'll leave you with this one story of opening it up and giving you my four, my four choices. Maxwell gave you 13. I'm going to give you 4. But Jerry had a thing called 9-on-7. And it's this tough man drill where all you do is 7 offensive people against 9 defensive people. It's in a constricted area. And all they do is beat the running back to death. That's all they do. I found no satisfaction in that drill. Absolutely none. None. I mean, it's Georgia, Swanee, Georgia. It's 95 degrees. The heat index is up. Gnats are everywhere, flies. I mean, and you got these coaches barking at you. I'm a rookie trying to sell myself, and nobody's buying. Well, I tell you what, I kept coming to practice, and in 9-on-7, there's Jesse Tuggle, the great future Hall of Famer, Jesse Tuggle. There's Deion Sanders. He plays on the corner, and they're squeezing down. And then you've got those, what I call those government mules, called defensive linemen that are standing in there. I mean, you talk about some big uglies now. And I'm standing back there, and here's the thing I learned, folks, a long time ago, is Mama taught me how to count. They got 9, and we got 7. Something's wrong here. Something's wrong. You're trying to tell me we can get 7 of them blocked, but 2 of them running free. And I knew it. And then 2 of them is always not just 2 running free, but what 2's running free. And one of the what 2's was a guy named Jesse Tuggle. They call him the Hammer. You go up in the big dome and you see his name all across the big dome. Jesse Tuggle in the Ring of Honor for the Falcons is what he is. Jesse Tuggle could bench press 650 pounds. He was an inside linebacker, strong as an ox, and extremely physical and tough. He was one of the unblocked ones, by the way. And sure enough, I get the ball, and boom, I hit the hole, and me and Jesse, boy, we got to know each other real good. Ain't no doubt about it. He won a lot of those battles, and I won a handful of them, but I get tattooed by other people as well. And in this particular day, in 9-on-7, it's rough, and I wanted to quit. The other running backs are all hurt and beat up. I'm the only running back going the whole day. So I go from 9-on-7 to 7-on-7 to team drills. I leave that, and then I have to do scout work for the starters. And so it was amazing that I got through the entire day and almost died. From sun up to sundown, from the time my feet hit the floor, physically I was beaten up. I was cut. I had a fractured rib. Jesse caught me with a hook right in the right rib cage. And I felt the thing, and I knew he had his hand in my rib. That's how strong he was, and he's holding it. And I said, Jesse, I know that's you holding my rib, And sure enough, it was Jesse holding my rib. And so there he goes. And at the end of the day, I was so beat up, I got to my bed, because I was trying to sell me. Coach Glanville, don't you see how tough I am? Don't you see I can do it? I'm your man. I wasn't a first rounder, but I'm your man. I can make the team. Well, the next day I come to work for practice, and they had a gift for me. That's interesting, isn't it? I get there, and I get down to the locker room, and I'm limping, and I'm sore. And there's Jesse across the way getting dressed. And I done told him a lot of things that the good Lord wouldn't be pleased with. And I said to him, and sure enough, I'm starting to put my things on. And June Jones, you may know that name, June Jones, our offensive coordinator, he comes into the locker room and he says, Derrick, the whole team has decided on something today. We got 2 running backs back today, and you went through so much you know what on yesterday that we're giving you the whole day off. You know what? That was one of the first steps towards respect. Isn't that interesting? They started to believe in the product at that moment. They saw me hang in there and hang in there, hang in there, hang in there, and hang in there, and I wouldn't quit, and hang in there, and hang in there, that they rewarded me and gave me the whole day off. They said, you go back to the room and go to bed. I took off. I went back and went to sleep. I had earned my keep that day. I got rewarded for it. And what was so amazing is that now the journey is still going on. And I'm going to give you these 4 quick points, because the first one I want to leave you with is this. If I'm going to make that team, it's going to be important that I do 4 things. 4 choices I've got to make. First of all, I've got to be a strategic thinker. That's number 1. I've got to be a strategic thinker. Because if I'm going to make the team, I'm going to have to think differently. There were backs with more invested in them than I had invested in me. I concentrated on not outperforming the highly invested number 1 guy in my position, but the ones who did not have as much invested in them. So I knew I wasn't going to upstage Tony Smith. Tony had $5.7 million invested in him. So I said, well, neither me chasing Tony. But I'm going to chase those others is what I'm going to do. And I learned that concept of thinking strategically. It's like the old concept, that if a bear is chasing me and Scotty, I don't have to outrun the bear. Scotty, I'm afraid, buddy. I hope your hamstrings hold up. Because all I got to do is outrun Scotty. That's all that's got to happen there. So I understood strategic thinking. There's no need of me going after Tony Smith, but I got to go after those other 3. And so it made sense to me to be able to be a great thinker. And I think you've got to be thinking all the time. You've got to be thinking all the time. The moment you stop thinking is when you start losing. You've got to continuously think. How can I do it? What's another strategy? What's another sale? What's another conversation? How shall I approach the next opportunity? Think through it. You've got to think through it. You've got to be a strategic thinker. And I've often said that I had to position myself to be effective where being effective was possible. That's an interesting statement. I have to position myself in being effective where being effective is possible. There are places you can spend your time trying to be effective, and it's not possible to be effective there. You've got to find out where you can be effective and be effective there. You've got to be a strategic thinker. The next one was willpower. I had 4 I wills in my repertoire, by the way. 4 I wills. Let me give them to you. I'll leave like this. I'm trying to make the team. I'm trying to sell this product of me. I said I will make the team. That's number 1. This is the first will you have to have if you're going to be successful. I will make the team. That's the number 1 thing I would tell myself when I got out of bed in the morning. Number 2, I will get them to notice me. I will get them to notice me. I will not be a nobody in this organization. When I was with the Falcons, I'll be a somebody. Now, being a somebody, you have to earn the right to be a somebody. But I wasn't going to be a nobody, and I was going to get them to notice me. Scotty, something I used to do. I used to get the ball, and I saw Tony Smith. I'd never be Tony Smith, couldn't be Tony Smith. He had too much score. He could cruise through it, and he'd be fine regardless. But old Eric Pegram, boy, I had my eyes on him. I had my eyes on old Eric. I knew what he could do. And sure enough, Eric would take off, boom. He'd get a ball, and he'd run about 10 yards. And he'd come back and give the ball to the quarterback. This is about lagniappe. It's an old German concept that says, give a little extra. Give a little more than you normally give. Go a little further than you would normally go. Take one more step. And it's the step that will make all the difference in the world. And I discovered that Eric would go about 10 yards. So when I got the ball, I burst down the field about 50 yards. Phew! I take off 50 yards down the field. You know what it did? I held up the offense. I got down the field 50 yards. It was so impressive. I go. Then I turn around and jog back and give them the ball, and I'm ready to go again. So everything I did, I was about 50 yards down the field. They gave me a nickname, Full Speed Mo. That's what they call me, Full Speed Mo. And so I did the little extra things and of making the team, and so that I would get noticed. The next one, number 3, is I will out-positive everyone on the team. I will out-positive everyone on the team. Every day you saw me, I was smiling. No matter how beat up I was, no matter how difficult the day was, I was always smiling, and I was impressing people along the way. And my attitude was one of gratitude, and it was one of high thank you for the privilege of being in the Falcon organization. I had not made the club, but I was going to be the most positive guy in the camp because I realized they kept about 46 of us. They kept 46 of us. I wanted to be one of the 46. The 47 guy, he's no different than the 60th guy. Y'all get that? So I wanted to be positive in everything that I did, and that positive attitude rubbed off on Jerry Glanville. I will tell you, I knew I was on to something. You know what he done? He said, we went to play the Buffalo Bills one night, and he said this. He said, come here, rookie. He used to call me a rookie, and he taunt me all the time, but I knew he liked me. See, if they're not talking to you, you're in trouble. You're in trouble if they're not talking to you. He comes up to me. He said, we're in the middle of the game, getting ready to kick off. We're up in Rich Stadium up in Buffalo. I'm on the kickoff coverage team. He comes up to me. He says, rookie, let me tell you something. If you don't go down and make this tackle, I'm going to cut you tomorrow. Boy, that ain't real nice, is it? You know? He said, I'm going to cut you tomorrow. And sure enough, I come up there and I said, Coach, you don't have to tell me anything else. I go line up. Man, they kick that ball. I'm going to tell you, motivation is a powerful thing, isn't it? There are some things you can do to get some folks off their duff. I can tell you that. He come up to me and said, you're gonna get cut tomorrow if you don't go make this tackle. Sure enough, they kicked that ball off. I wish I had the film. Good night. Man, you've never seen about run as fast as I ran down that field. I went down there and struck him. Wow! Knocked him off his feet, jumped up, hollering and screaming, making sure Jerry can see me. You see me, Jerry? Sure enough, I take off running to the sidelines where he is. Jerry, I just want you to know, boy, I went down there and gave it to him. He looked at me and said, rookie, tell you what, that's like, he didn't give me no credit for it. But you know what happened? That was the last camp date. We get back, they post a roster. Guess who made the team? I'm going to keep going here. Really good stuff. The fourth one, I will keep the end in mind, and I got ahead of myself. The fourth one is keeping the end in mind. The first year is nasty and rigorous, and those early days are tough and difficult. But I said this to myself, and I really believe it, that if I can make the first year, I'll make 6 more. I told myself that if I can survive and weather the storm of the early assault that came after me in that organization, that if I can weather the storm the first year, I'll make 6 more. Well, I went on to make 7 more. I went on to make 7 more because of those principles. Well, number 3 course list I want to give you is don't expect what you don't inspect. Are y'all with that? Don't expect what you don't inspect. In other words, ongoing skill development, know what you're getting into. So all the excuses can be removed. Ask as many questions as you possibly can. Inspect it, because now you're going to set some standards. You're going to know what you're walking into. And I think the thing that I knew, I had an agent that represented me. And when I was drafted in the 8th round, I remember him coming to me and sitting me down, and he told me, he said, well, you better get ready. You know what you're walking into. He said, you're an 8th round draft pick. You know what they do with 8th rounders, don't you? I said, you sure you my agent? I might need to fire you or something. He said, it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. He said, you got to go through one back that's drafted in the first round. You got to go through 3 more that's been there and been playing. And now you've got to decide how you're going to strategically position yourself to make it and be successful. And so we began to inspect it. And when we inspected it, I wasn't shocked about what to expect. And so I was really prepared. And there were still some things that I didn't inspect, and I had to manage along the way. And then the last one is finish the drill. Finish the drill by not quitting. It's so important, critically important, that if you start the drill, and I've said this before, Mark Rick at the University of Georgia is famous for this finish the drill athletic acronym he uses, because if you start the drill, don't come up short, Finish the drill. And I would always tell myself that when I get out of the bed today, go win the day. Go finish the drill today. That doesn't necessarily mean you get the results you're looking for. But you can finish well and still not get the results you're looking for, because the results will eventually follow. They will eventually follow if you get in a habit of finishing the day well. Real important. I want to leave you here as I get ready to close, as my time is winding down. I do want to leave you with one more poem that I love. Is really inspiring, and you guys have heard it probably 1,000 times over, called when things go wrong, as they sometimes will. You know, the key to life, the key to anything is how well developed you can become after something goes wrong. After you don't make the number, after you don't accomplish the goal, you know, what happens then? They would say when Mike Tyson was boxing, you know, if you remember, those of you remember the career of Mike Tyson, he was an intimidator. When he walked in the ring, no one could, you know, they were beaten before they even got to the ring. And he'd come out with this towel over his body, and he'd come out with these boots on, and he had no socks, you know, and he'd come out with got these tattoos going, and they're playing that intimidating music. And the other boxer, man, and most of them, I can tell you this, they didn't want no part of him. And because when they watched the film on him, he was interesting now. I'm going to tell you, I mean, he was an interesting guy, and he could bring it to you real good. And as a result, you just didn't know what would happen if he ever got hit. How would he respond? Well, unfortunately for him, as great a fighter as he was, there's a guy named Buster Douglas. On one evening, and I don't know, it was overseas. You guys remember that? All the way up to this point. See, it's easy to hide behind and be an intimidator, you know, but until the intimidator meets an intimidator, you know, he won't ever really know what he's about. And he was a great fighter, but he found out some other things because Buster Douglas showed us something. And when he hit him that night, we found out how Mike would respond, and the rest of his career was never the same. He was in a complete downward spiral. So it's going to be key that when you get hit, the greatness of a person is not when they get hit, but what do you do after you've been hit? That's greatness. The greatness of an individual comes down to what and how you respond to what happens to you. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to what happens to you. I think a guy named Jesus was great for that. He was great in how he responded. So I'm going to leave you with this quote. When the road you're trudging seems all uphill. I read this, and I've been reading this for the past month. And it's been a reminder and an encouragement to me as I hit the floor every morning. When the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile, but you have to sigh. When care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. And many a fellow turns about when he might have won had he stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Often the goal is nearer than it seems to a faint and faltering man. Often the struggler has given up when he might have captured the victor's cup. Man. And he learned too late when the night came down how close he was to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out. The silver tint in the clouds of doubt, and you never can tell how close you are. It might be near when it seems afar. So stick to the fight. When your heart is hit, it's when things seem worse that you must not quit. I think that's greatness. I really do. Yeah, when it's all cherry roses and we look for those days, that's easy. And I welcome those days. Want more of those than I can have of the other ones. But I found out a lot about myself in those days where quitting is the easiest thing to do. And I told my son that when he left for Kent State. I said, the easiest thing you're going to be able to do at Kent State is to wake up in the morning and decide that you don't want to do it anymore. I thank you. I said, that's the easiest thing in the world to do. It takes no effort to quit. It takes none. You know what? And you know what else? You know, quitting is really the byproduct of looking for a way out. Are y'all with that? Because when it gets tough, when it gets hard, when it gets rugged and nothing's came across the table, you begin to start to negotiate with yourself about exits. And they're all around this room. But the greatness of an individual is to find a way, because those are the stories I want to tell my grandchildren. Or those kind when granddad had an opportunity to quit and give up. And he became a strategic thinker. And he found a way around it. Those are the things champions are made of. I conclude with this statement. I know it can be difficult, but it's a hard process that you must walk. Don't feel like you... I love this quote. It's my own. It's my own. Nobody can take this one. Don't feel like you have to be on top of the world today or even 221 days from today. But just don't let the world be on top of you. Y'all with that? You don't have to be on top today. But don't let the world be on top of you, because eventually you'll be on top. Thank you all so much. I appreciate your time and your ear. Thank you.